possible version where Skylar and Walter hold up at some Motel 6 or someplace, and he's talking to her. She's in the bathroom, and he's saying to her, "It's going to be all right. It's going to be okay. I've got a plan, Skylar," and finally forces the door open, and she's in a bloody tub or something like that, having opened up her wrist. Or some. I mean, it was very dark, but not like this was a cakewalk, of sweetness and light.
And you didn't get quite that detailed at the pitch out, but we were still like, oh my God, no. Yeah. But it's funny, actually, as a total aside, I was looking back at my notes from the first season pitch out.
Yeah.
And you said at that point that Walt took with Elliot and Gretchen.
Yeah.
Which I was, and obviously we got cut short because of the writer's strike. But it was so fun to look at that.
Oh, God.
All these years later.
He was going to take the job?
Yeah.
It's just like someone else said all this. I don't even remember. I'm glad you're here. That's all I can say.
Well, I wouldn't have believed it if I have it written down. I wouldn't have believed it myself.
I should just quit while I'm behind right now. But I'm going to go ahead and tell that thing that I pitched way back before season 1 started. And everyone is literally going to listen to this on the other end of this podcast and say, that guy is just absolutely disturbed. But the thing I said a couple podcasts ago that I was going to pitch was before we ever shot season 1. I think the pilot was written. And I pitched a scene that I had in mind. And every time I pitch this, everyone is like, oh, you're disturbed. But I had this image that Walt, I think it was going to be that Jesse gets killed in season 1. So this would happen like the end of season 1 or season 2 or something like this. And Walt is so filled with rage at the drug kingpin, drug dealer who kills Jesse, that he's out for revenge. And he takes it very personally. And he gets this guy, and this guy's a really tough, badass dude who's, really hardcore guy who you really would want to see something bad come to this guy. This is a character we never had. There was versions of this character in Gustavo Fring and in Tuco Salamanca and even in Crazy 8, but we never completely had this character realized. But Walt gets this guy and chloroforms him or something and installs him in some basement somewhere. A lot of the details I'd never nailed down. And this was before I had a writing staff. I came up with this bit of insanity. So this guy's and Walt like shackles him into this basement and sets up this rifle or shotgun across the way with a tripwire attached to the trigger so that this guy can opt out at any given minute. In other words, this guy's such a badass, but for some reason, Walt wants him to kill himself. So Walt starts working on this guy from the toes up and starts lopping off bits of this guy and then cauterizing it with a blowtorch or something. So every day at precisely 4:00 he's going to show up. Walt's going to show up and take another bit off this guy in revenge for having done horrible things to Jesse. But the guy can stop it at any given time by pulling on the wire that leads to the rifle, which is set up across the room aimed at the guy's heart. And the guy's such a badass that he won't trip the trip line. He won't do it. And this goes on for weeks, and Walt is getting more and more disturbed, because he keeps, now he's dedicated to so now it's up past the guy's knees or something, and this guy is delirious with pain, but he's such a badass he won't flip the trip line. And Walter Jr. was gonna somehow stumble into this place and come downstairs and find this. From his point of view, this poor guy with no legs who is manacled to the floor or something, to the wall. And Walter Jr., being a sweet, character, was going to lean in and try to help him, put a bottle of water to his lips. Oh my God, I'm calling the police. And the guy's eyelids flicker open and the guy says, "Who are you?" And he says, somehow the bad guy, Walt is pretty fucking bad at this point too, clearly, for having done this to this guy. But this guy, this other bad guy, half a bad guy now, his eyelids flicker open and he looks at the kid and somehow he realizes that he's Walter Jr., he's Walter White's son, he's his nemesis's son. And then and only then does he pull the trip line and kill both of them.
Oh my God!
And I pitched this in person to, back then it was Rob Sorcher, it was before Joel Stillerman. Rob Sorcher was still was still at AMC, and Christina Wayne was still there, and Jeremy Ellis, and Zach and Jamie at Sony. And I pitched this to everybody, and everybody was like, "Oh, you are seriously fucked up." And you'll notice we never actually did that scene.
And that was going to be at the end.